Am I the a-hole for separating my finances from my husband because he keeps lending money to his parents? We've been together for over 9 years, and until this year, the thought of separating our finances never even crossed my mind. I'm generally frugal, and he's more of a spender. In the beginning, it didn't bother me, as we had 2 incomes, and even though we weren't rich, life was comfortable. His family often borrowed money from us, and they rarely paid it back. Personally, I don't lend money to anyone, not even family, but I never stopped him from doing it. A few years into our marriage, my husband was in a serious accident, and since then, he hasn't been able to work. As a result, I became the sole breadwinner. Recently, after 4 long years, he was finally approved for disability benefits. During those years, our savings were depleted, and we were on the brink of losing everything. Our debts kept piling up, and there was nothing I could do about it. When he finally received a back payment for the entire time he'd been waiting for disability benefits, I asked him for just one thing, to pay off his car loan, for which I had already paid over $45,000 in the last few years, and maybe save some of the money. He did neither of these things. Instead, he blew through the cash, lent $8,000 to his family, and didn't contribute a cent to our debts. Meanwhile, I had managed to save a bit from my salary, but it wasn't much. My plan was to save enough to pay off some of our debts. He knew I was saving for this purpose. About a month ago, I noticed that $600 had disappeared from our savings account. I asked him what happened, and he admitted he lent it to his parents. I asked when they'd pay it back because I needed it soon for bills, and he replied that he didn't know when they'd be able to. I was furious, not just because of the money, but because he didn't ask me. We didn't discuss it. He acted behind my back, knowing I'd be mad and would have said no. We had a huge fight, and I hoped that after that he'd stop, but he didn't. Yesterday, I checked our account and saw another $900 missing. Again, it went to his parents. I'm beyond angry. I told him that I was done with his parents. I'll pay half of the bills, buy groceries, and that's it. If he wants to give all his disability payments to his parents, fine, but I'm not going to work 60 hours a week just for him to give our money away. So, am I the a-hole for going to the bank, withdrawing all the money I had saved, and opening a new account that he has no access to? He says I'm being an a-hole and that I should want his parents to be happy. I'd love to see them happy, but I'm not willing to fund it with my own well-being. Next story. Am I the a-hole for being honest with my friend's wife about why I dropped him as a friend? My closest friend since childhood, Evan, married Valerie 5 years ago. To be honest, I never liked her as she is extremely rude and usually refuses to speak and just stares. This issue is bad enough she doesn't have a relationship with her own father because she won't speak to his wife or her half-sisters. To be clear, she absolutely can speak. She has a PhD, a job, and friends. She really enjoys not speaking though. Evan has even said it's like her passion in life. Valerie rarely speaks to me, but it's fine. I personally have no desire to talk to her but maintained a close friendship with Evan. We even went on group trips and her not speaking really didn't bother me, but it does bother my fiancée Heather. Heather feels disrespected as she has tried to get to know Valerie and been ignored. Heather came to me and told me how hurtful it was and that if she didn't speak, she didn't want her at our wedding. I talked to Evan, who said Heather was being a child. He said Valerie isn't our wind-up doll, and he respects her having full autonomy. I said I could no longer expose Heather to this hurtful behavior and said Valerie couldn't come to our wedding. He dropped out of the wedding and we ended the friendship. However, we do still see each other in group settings. Recently, Valerie approached me and asked for the real reason behind the rift. I told her, and she seemed horrified. She thought it was really sweet he defended her, but she didn't want him to lose a friendship, so she said she would try to talk to Heather. Valerie approached Heather and made the world's most awkward small talk while making a face like she was disgusted. Evan found out why she was doing it and told her to stop. She doesn't owe anyone a thing, and he would never ask her to do that for him. They left and he sent me a pissed text that I shouldn't have told her because it was manipulative, and he wouldn't want to be friends anymore anyway, because we are creepy people, for wanting to talk to Valerie so badly when she doesn't want to talk. ETA, she does not have social anxiety. She isn't talking to people because she doesn't want to or because they aren't interesting enough, but she loves being the center of attention, is very vocal when she wants something, and can be funny and outgoing. She just enjoys digging her heels in when she doesn't want to speak. Next story. Am I the a-hole for defending my daughter's choice to turn down a boy's advances? Hello all. My husband and I have been arguing about this all day, and I need some outside perspective. My husband picked my daughter, Cindy, up from school, and he saw her speaking to a schoolmate that she had previously had a crush on. For context, last year during a sleepover, my husband and I overheard Cindy's friends lightly teasing her over having a crush on this boy. My husband also gently teased her with some innocent jokes like Cindy and boy sitting on a tree kissing type of silliness, and he sometimes brings it up randomly to tease her, like asking her if she wants to invite her boyfriend when we go on family outings. She never actually dated him or is even friends with him as far as we know. Her dad just likes to tease her. Anyway, apparently over the summer the boy was injured in an accident, and he missed the first couple of weeks of school as a result. When my husband was picking her up, he saw them talking and noticed that the boy had significant scarring on his face and hand. When he asked her what happened to him and what they were talking about, saying that the boy looked disappointed, she explained to him about his accident and that he was just asking her out on a date, but that she turned him down. My husband was furious at her and scolded her for being so shallow as to reject him because his appearance had changed. Cindy was crying when she got home. She told me all this and insisted she was polite when turning him down and was just not interested in him romantically anymore. I told my husband to apologize to my daughter and that he never should have made her feel bad for turning down anyone's romantic advances. I told him that our daughter is old enough to decide who she is attracted to, and it would be cruel of her to have said yes out of pity, thus leading him on. My husband is now saying that he sees me differently and that I should be ashamed for teaching Cindy to be a shallow monster and ableist. He is also angry that I undermined him when he was scolding our daughter and says we should not undermine each other's authority when disciplining our child. I was not doing it to undermine him. I just think it's not healthy to make our daughter feel guilty and shamed for not being interested in someone. I do feel bad for the boy, but I don't think it is anyone's place, neither mine nor my husband's, to tell Cindy she has to date someone or she's a bad person. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Wow, I did not anticipate this getting so many responses when I wrote it last night before bed. I'm trying to read through all the replies so I can approach this with my husband again later today. I'm also going to have a talk privately with Cindy about the situation. Thank you so much for all the responses. I feel more confident now in my choice to defend Cindy. My husband is not a bad guy. He didn't tease Cindy to hurt her, it was to be playful, and Cindy didn't seem to be bothered by it. She would usually brush him off when he made those jokes. I think my husband was short-sighted when it came to this situation, but he is not a bad father, and he really loves me and his daughter, even if he makes mistakes sometimes. Next story. Am I the a-hole for wanting to break up with my girlfriend after she turned off her location, got injured, and didn't tell me? I, 25M, didn't hear anything from my girlfriend, 22F, all day yesterday, even though we planned for her to come over in the evening. When she didn't show up, I started to worry. We share or find my location for safety, especially since she often takes public transport alone late at night. I noticed her location was turned off, which was unusual and only added to my concern. As I hadn't heard from her, I reached out to mutual friends to see if they'd seen her. One friend mentioned they'd seen her at her hobby activity in the evening, where she was with her mother and some guy. The friend didn't mention anything unusual, certainly not an injury, so I assumed she was fine. However, I was still puzzled as to why she hadn't contacted me or shown up. I tried calling her parents, who were annoyed I'd woken them up and didn't give me any useful information except for, she's asleep here at home, now good night. This morning, after a sleepless night, her mother finally got back to me and told me my girlfriend had injured her leg at work, possibly a broken leg, and that she was on strong medication, which is why she was asleep. Apparently, a coworker had taken her to the ER right after the accident. But none of this makes sense to me. If she'd injured her leg so badly, I don't understand how she was able to go to her hobby as my friend saw yesterday. Plus, it was this same coworker she mentioned before, the one who'd picked her up from my place for work without me knowing. That was already strange because I've always told her she can ask me for a ride, and I'm flexible in the mornings. This happened like 4 days ago. The coworker pickup, not the whole thing which happened yesterday. With her location still turned off and no communication from her, I feel like I'm the last to know anything. I'm seriously considering breaking up with her over this as soon as she reaches out to me. If I were in an accident, my first request would be to let her know, and I'd hope for the same in return. Am I the a-hole for feeling hurt by her lack of communication and the fact that she prioritized telling everyone but me? Edit. She still has our pictures on her socials and our anniversary on her WhatsApp status. That's a common thing to do. Edit. Clarification on the time frame. Big update, everyone. First of all, thank you for your good advice, everyone. I can now comment on my own thread with NDA. Went to her place with some presents and some chocolate. No one answered the door. So just to have a chat with the friend, I called her to see if she had any news for me. She then told me, hey, we are at the hobby. Now I can say it. It is horseback riding. And your GF is also here with the strange guy, so make it quick, they are coming back. I can't talk, I don't want trouble. I just politely told her to tell my GF to go for herself and get lost. The friend also just before I arrived told me that the GF did not want to talk to me because she was very mad because I woke up everyone and she got in trouble for that. And that I contacted the friend, pure jealousy because the friend is a pretty girl. After that I initially wanted to go home but then changed my mind and said screw it, I'll just show up there. If they don't want me the people there will kick me out, which won't happen as I am not aggressive, loud or anything. So arriving at the stable I saw the guy with the friend, the EX, we can say that at this point, her mom and some other people from the hobby. I asked her, hey, I was worried to death, what happened? No reply. I asked her again, hey, I was worried to death, what happened? No reply. She realized I was not going to let loose, in a polite way, non-aggressive as I value that in any argument. She then said, oh sorry, I don't know how to tell you, but I am unhappy in our relationship. She couldn't take it anymore. I asked her what she meant by that, and she listed minor things that could have been discussed and worked out. I always told her I am open to anything, and I can take some criticism, and with her help would for sure make a change. So she went on, and I tried to ask for details, and went over to confronting. Explained to her how worried I was, that I was shaking and panicking, and you could see in her face the realization that I was not controlling her, but in fact worried to death, and she noticed that moment what she'd lost. Someone who really cared about her. You could see her face getting sadder, and then she was pushing for me to say sorry. I don't know if it'll ever be the same, and I just said, what did you expect, you fool, after this bullshit? Then we came to the explanation of this whole thing, or at least what she wanted to tell me. The injury was minor, she was not on strong medication, but in fact, blacked out drunk because she could not take it anymore. When I asked what it was, just that she was sad but couldn't really name a reason because I also was never aware of any reason. To clarify the location thing, she first said the phone died, but after I told her the fact she said, yeah, you're right, I turned it off. She still did not tell me that she cheated with the guy, but with all the evidence for sure the last location of the phone in this guy's hometown, for which he had absolutely no explanation, started to stutter and just went back to denying it, and at that point I told her politely to F off. Grab her stuff at the earliest convenience, but please within the next week as I want to move on with her shit. During the whole conversation, I remained calm. The guy was scared to death by me and tried to leave the location. I am a 6 feet 7 inches muscular guy, and yet I am so soft and care so much about someone that betrays me, which basically confirmed everything about this guy. She said she just asked him for advice and mental guidance, and that he told her to listen to her heart and she could turn it around if she wanted. During the conversation, she had hopes and tried to keep her options with me open, but I would never give in to that. I did not expect this post to go so viral, but even I can say if I would have read this story a week ago, I would say what kind of idiot would get into such a dumb situation, but it is true. Now that it is over and clarified, I can come out that I am in fact 23 but very mature. I have my own successful company, make some decent money, and look after myself. I don't care if you read this, maybe it shows up on one of your favorite Instagram narrator content pages. And she is 20F in company training, doesn't have a car or license, has 3 horses which she can't even afford one, and is in debt for unpaid horse bills. But this all evolved throughout our relationship, and I wanted to be there for her and support her, but that's what you get for that.